Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. You are listening to the Wannabe Critic podcast, and I am Gabriel Fast. And yes, I do claim to be the Wannabe Critic. From this angle, I look like a giant, fifth grader. Look at how small my arms look.
Hey,
look at this.
If everyone listened to last week, I wonder how many fifth graders could we throw Jake if they looked like Gabe right now.
Dude, Jake said 30. Jake said 30, and I audibly laughed.
I was like, so insane.
I'm like 30
I'd
fifth graders?
It was third graders. It was third graders.
Third graders. Oh, okay. Still.
Well, still.
There's a little, holy crap. If they get on your back, what happens when they gouge your eyes out, from behind?
They're not going to. They're not going to get a chance.
They will. There's going to be three of them that... Okay, you're wrong. But
these are feral third graders.
They're going to form a chain and grab your hands and literally anchor themselves. They're going to make a chain and anchor themselves. They're going to be all...
What are you fighting, evil geniuses? How old are you in third grade?
No,
not old enough to do something like that.
I had the best ideas in third grade. No cap.
Ideas and carrying them out are much different, though.
These are third graders that have the minds of otters. Just think about that. They're not little kids.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be discussing the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 4, Chapter 4. We're going to give just a little bite-sized episode. There's some stuff to discuss for sure. So we're going to go around the room. We're going to talk about one positive we like about the episode, one negative we didn't like about the episode. Obviously, after this fourth episode, we can see kind of the intent is to bring the crime families of Mos Espa together to kind of take down the Pike Syndicate. Is kind of what we see happening. There is a war coming. Did you guys catch the last little music bit at the end of this episode?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mando's back.
Which it makes so much sense that they would tie it in the way that they're tying it in.
Especially, it's what else is he going to be doing, right now?
Right.
Yeah.
So it would make total sense for him to show up.
I'm not getting my hopes up on it, honestly, because it couldn't be just Mando. It could be just the Mandalorian clan coming in.
I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, Mando could be no part of it. That should just be a theme song for the Mandalorian.
Oh, I think Mando will be part of it. I think it's going to be Mando and Bo-Katan and then some of the others.
You think?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that would be rad, especially if they did that to kind of kick off season 3 of Mando, and then if we get a release date for season 3 of Mandalorian at the end of this series.
Oh yeah, we're going to. I don't see how they can't.
Yeah,
it's been long enough.
So
I think we're going to see quite a bit. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go. I'm sorry. Well, actually, we need to catch up first. So, gentlemen, what have you been doing?
A lot of Minecraft.
Yeah. Did you blow up my base?
I didn't, but I found it today. I did find it.
Yeah, we did find it today.
I gave you some stuff, actually.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I haven't played in 2 weeks, so.
It was really hard.
I didn't give you anything.
Dude, do you actually have the materials on hand to blow stuff up?
Yes.
Are you some kind of Minecraft god? What the heck? Well, you have been playing a lot. Good lord, my guy.
I have a whole rank of TNT right now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Do you mind taking that down in there into my dwarven mine so I can never have to see you guys ever again?
You can trade me for it.
No, just give it to me, dude.
No.
Come on, make
believe. No, it's mine. No.
Oh my god. Okay. So you've been playing Minecraft. Lige, what have you been doing?
Whole lot of nothing. Just.
And I forgot to introduce you guys. I have Jacob Labriere and Elijah Middlesworth with me on the Wannabe Critic podcast. Yeah, there you have it.
Well, that's how it goes with us. We never get to the things that are important. We just go right to the idiocy.
It's easier.
Have you been playing any games besides Minecraft, Lige?
Just Red Dead. Been breaking out Red Dead Online.
You're all right, boy.
Yeah, not very often. That's been kind of here and far between. It's just been Minecraft right now, pretty much.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, and just catching up on some shows and just things like that.
It's fun to catch up on shows.
Yeah, I've sat down and polished off six seasons of different shows in a week.
Yeah. Well, you did have COVID, so
yeah,
you know.
yeah, I did.
Oh yeah.
I've been burning through Rebels. I'm about halfway through season 2 right now.
It's good, huh?
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's
It's
really
awesome.
Did it start out as slow as I thought it was going to for you?
It did start out slow, but I think I was expecting slower because of how slow Clone Wars started out. So to me, like, it was slow, but it was still really good.
You know what I've been digging?
What?
Visions.
I haven't watched that.
I keep forgetting that that's a show.
I really like the setup. Like, it's 15-minute episodes.
And it's a different story each time, right? Or is
different story each time from different animators, world-class anime people. And I have really been appreciating, like, the first episode you gotta watch. It's rad. It's like Kurosawa style. But there's like a certain element of camp to like filler episodes of anime to where it's like, wow, this is really campy. But you kind of appreciate it for what it is. That's kind of where I'm at with a few of these episodes, but I really like it still. There was one episode where like there was a fleeing Jedi from Order 66 and he falls through like the roof of an apartment building and meets like a hut on Coruscant. And they form a rock band together.
What?
And it fast forwards to them on Tatooine playing shows, and Boba Fett comes in, and he's like trying to bring the hut in, and like it's about their camaraderie, you know, like as bandmates and stuff. And the entire band goes to Jabba and is like, "Hey, we want to play one last show for you." And the crowd loves him so much, and Jabba's like tail is like tapping to the music. It's like punk rock music, and like the crowd loves their band so much that they get to like live. But like it's a hut with like punk rock garb and like it was kind of cool. It was just different, you know, and it's really weird too. But I don't know. I'm kind of digging Visions. Like if you want something a little if you want something a little different to add to your Star Wars swath. And there's a couple like there was one episode where like a brother and sister, there's like a special kyber crystal, and they like cut through an entire Star Destroyer with one big kyber crystal.
What?
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, they're in space talking with no, like, masks on or anything.
Yeah.
So, like, you just, you know, it's just different, you know.
They Princess Leia'd that.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. So, well, we've all been getting our Star Wars fix in and playing some games. That's really good.
Yeah.
So let's get into the episode a little bit more. Let's talk about what we liked and what we didn't like. So Robert Rodriguez did not direct this episode, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just put my 2 cents in. You guys killed it last week on last week's episode. Really, really good job. Loved your takes. It was pretty spot on, especially whenever Jake was talking about Chrysanthemum pulling Boba out of the bacta tank, you know, and he, like, looks back. And have you seen that meme of Dana DeVito, like, from It's Always Sunny, and he's like looking back? It's really, really funny. It's really, really funny. But, you know, it was one of those things like out of context. But I thought that episode was actually pretty good, aside from the bad guys from Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. But this episode, I really like the setup. I really like what they did with the Sarlacc pit. Boba getting vengeance was probably the most true thing to his character I think we've seen so far from what we've known of his character, you know, in the past. But overall, I really liked how they kind of built up the relationship between him and Fennec Shand. I'm not crazy about her, but I do like that they spent time kind of trying to develop that. And like, I don't know how I feel about the cybernetics. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it would make sense that something like that would exist because we've seen that technology before, even throughout, you know, the prequels, you know, we know that's something that exists. That's a technology that exists. So it would make sense that it kind of accelerated the past 20, 30 years, whatever, or 30, 40 years, however many times. Oh, and I have to correct something. So 2 episodes ago, I said that Boba Fett was in his 20s, and that's why he looks so old, because of the accelerated aging. To which Elijah told me that I was wrong, and he didn't want to address it last week because he's a good guy. But we were wrong. Boba's in his, what'd you say, his 40s? He's 40 straight up?
He's got to be 40. I believe when he was first shown in Attack of the Clones. He was, I think, around 8, and that was several years before. It was like 30 plus years before the Battle of Yavin. So, I mean, that puts him in his 40s by Battle of Yavin easily.
Okay. So there you have it. Which, I mean, he really does look old, so, and he is a clone, and we know that that's a thing, the accelerated aging and stuff. So that makes sense. That matches up about right, I think. So, but still, I don't know how I got off track. I just wanted to mention that briefly before we got any further. But I liked and disliked the modifications parlor. My favorite part of the episode was whenever he yeeted, straight up laser beamed the biker gang. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, he just straight up sunned them. I mean, it was awesome. So there you have it. And they're like, at one point, one of the guys gets blown up, and he's all, yeah, like, he just like gets like thrown from his, and I was like, awesome,
Nothing beats the Tusken Raider from the second episode that just randomly jumped off the back of the speeder bike in training. You commented on it, but all I saw in my mind was you were talking about it was just him sitting there and him going, and just
all right, let's throw it to you, Jake. One thing you liked and one thing you didn't like.
One thing I did like, it's as long as Chrysanthemum's in the episode, it's going to be anything with him. So the fight, the little scuffle he had where he tore the dude's arm off was probably, I love any scene with him. He's so BA. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Didn't like, I think it's going to be all the same for us, is the parlor with the punk rock emo music going while he was, I felt like that was completely unnecessary, or it just could have been done better. It's kind of like you said, it's cool, but I feel like they're just not executing it well.
Does it belong in Star Wars? Like,
no.
In live action Star Wars. Like, I understand, like, anime.
Yeah.
Punk rock music, an anime, like, because that's off the wall and weird. But live action Star Wars?
Yeah.
Did anyone else feel like that they were in a hacker scene from, like, MI2 or something like that, with the music going on and all the drills and then the quick cuts? It was like the
very
close-ups.
2000s. Very 2000s.
I was just waiting for the keyboard to just start clacking and the mouse not moving. It was very over the top.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want to talk about that scene with Chrysanthemum and why that's so awesome. Because whenever he picks that dude up, and I like how he just did what he did, and maybe it just goes to show like his hatred for gambling because of his time he spent in the fighting pits, and maybe he's just like, these freaking slugs, like, I believe it's in A New Hope. Han Solo talks about Wookiees being able to just tear their people's arms out of their sockets. Mm-hmm. And do you guys ever play the Lego Star Wars video games?
Yeah.
So that was a move you could do as Chewie. So if you played as Chewie, you could go up and like you would hear like pop pop, like you would hear the arms come off. So Chrysanthemum, we've established he's a bad dude. Which him teaming up with Boba, freaking awesome. Like we knew it was gonna happen. We've talked about doing
doubts.
I
had my
really.
doubts. Yeah,
did you think it was they weren't gonna show up? They weren't gonna show him again.
I thought he was gonna show up as an enemy. Really, I thought he was. There was gonna be something that just tied him back, and that was gonna be the final battle was him and Boba.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think for 1 second that they weren't gonna bring him back. Especially with the way he just kind of trotted off, like in episode 2. That was so bizarre. Or was it episode 2 or episode 3? Episode 2, right? Yeah.
Episode 3 is when he.
Yeah, episode 3. Yeah, that's right. But you can tell he's hesitating as she's trying to like plead with him, and like say you don't have to do this, and he just straight up does it because he wants to, like. We get, without him uttering a word, we get a feel for his character of exactly who he is. And I loved that. I loved that they didn't have to give him any lines for him to do that. So just wanted to touch on that for a second.
Yeah, I really appreciated that too.
Yeah. And, it's really interesting how Chrysanthemum is on Tatooine around the same time that we're playing a Star Wars RPG set around... kind of around that time. a little bit.
Oh boy. I can
Just
only
saying.
imagine what that is going to bring in our
no.
RPG later.
Could imagine.
We basically already fought him, kind of.
Yeah, but I don't know.
That
man.
was a different one.
We also had the help of a more powerful
Don't.
person.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I'm plugging the the Star Wars show. But yeah, that was just. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Someone else take the spotlight from me. Save me from myself.
Elijah's turn.
So I just want to talk about something that I thought was the best part of the episode. We get an up close and personal encounter with the Sarlacc pit again. How amazing was that scene? I mean, I didn't really care for him trying to grab the ship. I mean, why would he fly the cockpit directly into its mouth? That was a little bit sketchy.
Idiotic.
Yeah, a little bit. But speaking of the cockpit, seeing the inside of the cockpit, like seeing the controls and the dash, that was a nice throwback to some like prequel era stuff. Like I really that just when you saw the inside of the ship with Jango Fett flying it really brought back those feels, like those sounds and lights brought back that nostalgia. And then the other thing, the sonic imploder that we saw in Clone War or Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
That was epic. Like,
But is it getting a little played out at this point? Because they did it in Mandalorian as well.
oh yeah, they did do it in Mandalorian. I forgot.
Which I'm not saying it's not cool. It is cool, but it's like cool. Like
I don't think it's getting played out at all. That's
Yeah,
something
okay.
I think they could play on for a while. At least once a season.
I was going to say, spreading it out like that.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, he killed the Sarlacc pit, or she did.
Yeah.
Is that weird to think about?
Not really, because I presumed in the first episode when Boba ripped his way out of it, I presumed the thing was dead. And I'm guessing that's why he probably got as close as he did, because he thought it was probably dead too.
Yeah, that is true.
So, I mean, to see it, that good jump scare that we got, which was a pretty decent jump scare, for a drama series, and then getting that surprise, like that was a pretty good shock to me.
Yeah, totally. What was one thing you didn't like?
So I mean, we talked about the mod station, so I'll quit kicking that dead horse. Honestly, what I did not care for is going to be kind of a minute detail and maybe silly to some. The Gamorrean guards did not look like Gamorrean guards from Return of the Jedi, and I'm very disappointed about it. They need to improve those costumes a little bit better. They look mannequinish, like they don't look real, not like they did back in the 80s.
Well, and I feel like there's a real lack of armor and like equipment for those creatures. Like they're just kind of out there like a giant fat baby. You know what I mean? Like, hey guys, look at me,
Yeah,
and
they don't look beefy like they did in Return of the Jedi.
they don't. They don't look menacing. Like Chrysanthemum felt like he could just walk right up to him and just like eat one, like take a bite right out of one. He's all and and they just don't feel. They felt like they were really bad dudes in Return of the Jedi, and yeah, I have to agree with you. I thought it looked a little off too. I'm like, those Gamorreans are strutting around in diapers, loincloths. What the heck? You know what I mean? It's just kind of weird.
It was a little bit better with this episode because they were actually wearing their normal garb and things like that, but still, at least their costumes could have been done up a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree.
But at the same time, that's another note that I put down is I do really, really appreciate that there is little to no CGI at all in this show.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do appreciate it. The one thing that does bother me is the Pikes, because we see in the Clone Wars, the Pikes are these thin, lizard, snake-looking type people. And then in the show, they're kind of short and fat and stocky and have huge faces. So, I mean, it's a little bit different. But maybe some CGI would be nice, but overall, staying true to the colors of the original trilogy
I
is
thought
great.
Those snake things were the Black Sun in Clone Wars.
No, the
Really?
Black Sun.
Black Sun
Sun.
was huge, right?
Yeah, they're the green guys with the black ponytail.
Okay.
That's the Black Sun.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Never mind. All right,
Yeah,
prediction
that's just
time.
one thing.
Prediction time. What's gonna happen next? Jake?
I think we will see Mando. What's his name? Jarn?
Din
Din
Djarin.
yeah.
Djarin. I think we're gonna see him. I think we'll see Bo-Katan and her crew, and maybe not next episode, but either next episode or the one after. I think we're gonna get to see Mandalore. I think they're gonna take us to Mandalore.
That would be kind of cool.
And I think they're gonna kind of maybe set that up for the next season of Mando.
But I thought Mandalore got glassed.
Did it?
Yeah, I thought so because it did because the Imperials raided Mandalore, and that's why the Mandalorians hate the Empire so much.
The Empire rated it? I thought the Separatists rated it.
That at the once the Republic turned to the Empire, because the Republic had control over Mandalore, when they flipped, the Mandalorians fought back, and the Empire glassed the planet. I'm pretty sure. Quote me if I'm wrong. I'm sure people will tell me if I'm wrong.
I think we'll still see it either way. I feel like they're gonna take us to Mandalore for something.
That would be cool, like as a ruin kind of thing.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Like, there's more dark saber crystals.
Oh, that would be really cool. That'd be really
rad.
Cool.
I think we'll see Ahsoka too within the next couple episodes.
God, I hope so.
Once.
Yeah.
I think
what if Ahsoka shows up with Mando and to fight the Pikes?
I was gonna say I think she'll help in some way.
You got to have a lightsaber in this at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, man, that'd be rad. Or, well, man,
I don't know.
What is Luke Skywalker doing right now?
He's training Grogu. What do you think he's doing?
Have you guys heard of Tales of the Jedi?
No.
There's a new show coming out called Tales of the Jedi.
Okay.
And it's rumored to be a Luke Skywalker show. Of him, like, training Grogu. Have you heard about Sebastian Stan potentially becoming...
Yeah, but I thought that got shot down.
No one said anything either way.
It's all rumor.
But if they did a Luke Skywalker show,
he'd be the guy.
Holy crap.
That'd
be freaking awesome.
That would be awesome.
Have
If Tales of the Jedi, they look very similar.
Yeah, they look identical.
It's weird. But how would you do that? Here, within the next couple years, we're going to know what Luke Skywalker has been doing in the official canon. Like, it's going to happen.
For sure.
Whether it be through a show or whatever. The only problem with doing what they were doing, with what they would, do with Sebastian Stan is we've already seen Mark Hamill's face in Mando. So, there's that.
They could level. They could polish that out good enough.
Yeah, they could. They could. What's your prediction, Leish?
So my prediction is it's going to take a few episodes, but I think the Mandalorians as a whole are going to be coming. They're going to fight the Pikes. As far as Mandalorian goes, I don't think we'll see him to the final episode or the final 2 episodes. The final 2 episodes will be 1 episode in 2 parts. And that is when Mando and Ahsoka, if she comes to the show, that's when they're going to shine. But I do think Bo-Katan has a very high possibility of coming into the next upcoming episodes. And I think the Mandalorians are going to be offered refuge in Mos Espa as payment to help Jango, bring order back to Tatooine from the Pikes. Or, Boba. Yeah, Boba, yes. Bring back order from the Pikes.
Yeah, because we're kind of seeing the current state of Tatooine. My biggest question about these shows is if we're going to consider the sequel trilogy canon, how are they going to bridge that gap and make it right and make it make sense?
You got a lot of time between 2 movies. I mean,
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Gabe?
You can make it work.
Well, I understand that. Could you though? Like everything that came before the sequel trilogy, with what's being developed right now, and none of that's going to be in the sequel trilogy. Like, Ahsoka Tano's not going to be in the sequel trilogy because the sequel trilogy has already happened. The more content we get, the more I feel like those movies are going to be retconned eventually.
Isn't that a big rumor that that's what's going to happen to them?
I've heard that happen. I've heard people talking about that happening.
But how do you eliminate millions of dollars worth of film and footage and storytelling? How do you do that?
You already made your money back, and they did it already with millions of dollars of existing content already.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy. You just say, hey, guess what? These are legends. This never happened.
I don't know. I mean, you're kind of working in the reverse, but think about Ahsoka Tano throughout the whole original trilogy. Where was she? How could they write Ahsoka Tano into a character and then have her disappear for 50 years? I mean, she helped the rebels, obviously, but how come Luke never was in touch with her throughout the whole time? Why did he have to go to find Yoda and talk to Obi-Wan as a Force ghost?
Yeah, and how is she still alive now? Yeah, no, there's a lot of plot holes. I'm not saying that that's not a thing, but Tales of the Jedi, maybe that's, again, another scenario we get where Luke had dealings with her potentially. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. There's just so many questions that come to mind where it's like, how are you going to make this all fit within the universe now? Because as it stands, the content we're getting is awesome.
Yeah.
But how do you make it? What would be the most baller thing to do? The most baller thing to do would be to wipe the sequel trilogy from canon.
Do you really want that, though? I mean,
yes,
does anybody want that?
Yes.
Really?
I liked the movies, but I think for the sake of the series and tying things together, I think it would be good to wipe those.
You have a second chance to rebuild Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And the fans would welcome it.
So what if instead of a full-on retcon, what if you take those movies, you take the story as a whole, but you redo the films, just redo everything, get new directors, new screen for screen, shot for shot, but this main story idea is still there, and you get rid of some of the dumb little in between things.
I feel like with that though, it's like Gabe said, they made their money back on those movies already. Why spend more money to redo it when they can wipe it and come up with something completely new?
Well, because I enjoy the story. I think the story fits well in the universe. I really do. But that's just me. So I
think there are elements of the story that fit really well, but it would be really hard to redo the same story and look at Rey Palpatine versus Rey whoever. I think you could literally redo everything and take the expanded universe story, Leia's kids and Luke's, really expand on the new Jedi Order, and talk about that, but even still, you can't do it because Carrie Fisher's dead, right? So I feel like the best way to move forward. Have you guys heard about the rumor of them potentially splitting Star Wars timelines? So the version of the movies we saw in 7, 8, and 9 is whenever Ahsoka would have died. You know what I'm saying? Have you gotten to that point yet, Jake? Oh.
We lose them.
Oh, here I am. Have you gotten to that point in Rebels yet, Jake?
Which part?
What point are you talking about?
Has Ahsoka fought anybody?
No, not yet. So I just got to where Ahsoka came into the show, and the last episode I watched was where they found Rex and Wolf and the other dude.
Okay.
And I think that's the last episode I watched.
Okay, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but
she fights Vader, doesn't she?
She does fight Vader, but there's something that I don't want to spoil for you that is a really big thing. But essentially, there's something that is set up to where there is a opportunity to tell two separate timelines. One where Ahsoka loses that fight with Vader, and one where she wins, and she, basically like the timeline we see now. In that version where she dies, people are saying that would make a lot of sense to bridge the sequel trilogy to that, because the Empire would have a hold of Grogu. There would have been no reason, there would have been a lot of things that were absent. And, Luke would have never taken Grogu, like none of that would have ever happened. But the timeline we're seeing now at the shows is like the true timeline of what's actually happening. And I kind of like that idea of these two split timelines of this is a legend of what could have happened, but what we're getting in all these shows is what's actually happening. And I think
have a Legends timeline and a canon timeline.
Yes. And if you did it that way, a new 7, 8, and 9 could be made where we see what happened with Grogu. We see what happened with all the things we're seeing now. We see literally maybe Ahsoka Tano becoming the Jedi Master that we need and training the new Jedi Order alongside Luke Skywalker. And I would love to see something like that, personally. Like, I think that is leagues more interesting than what the sequel trilogy has to offer.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, because that's a huge potential right there for not only a lot of people probably wanting to see that, but that's a big potential for making a lot of money doing something like that too. That's a lot of content to carry over.
Not to mention bridging the gap between the Clone Wars as well as what we're seeing now. Like, this character that we love, I love Ahsoka Tano. I think I love Ahsoka just as much as Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I agree.
She is awesome. And what would be super rad, this is super out there, but Ahsoka Tano should be the chosen one to bring balance to the Force. And if she was that and literally brought in the new era of Jedi and was teaching them, there's opportunity for light to rise. That was one thing that I think the sequels did really good, is talking about, or not the sequels, it was Freddie Prinze Jr. talking about, what Dave Filoni told him, and that there's always a balance to the Force. Light rises and then darkness rises to meet it. And there's always a tip in the Force at all times. So if Ahsoka was basically this timeline's chosen one at this point, we would have an opportunity to reset the scales and see a new trilogy of movies with really interesting characters.
Well, but you know what that is, though, right? You know what you're just describing? It's the Star Trek movies. It's the original series Star Trek movies. They did this already. Did it succeed?
The amount of fervor that's held for Star Trek is far outweighed by the love of Star Wars.
That's what Jake was just saying.
I mean, and here's the thing, too. What content has Star Trek made, aside from the first reboot movie, that people are raving about? Nothing. Discovery, I'm not saying it's not well liked, it is, but you can't, it's not even in the same hemisphere as Star Wars at this point. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I'm thinking between all of the animated stuff that's coming out, all the content they've made for Mando, and setting up all these different characters for all these different shows, we are seeing a timeline where they could be retconning, they could be setting something up to retcon these sequel movies. And if they did that, here's why it makes sense also from a journalistic standpoint. People will be talking about it for years.
Yeah.
Years and years.
But in what sense? Is it going to be positive or negative?
It doesn't matter.
I think it could usher in a whole new era of what we already have with the original trilogy and the arguments and back and forth. I think that could usher in a whole new thing.
All it does is tear everything back open for the Star Wars fandom and give us more content to speculate on, content to talk about. And if they did that, they could space these movies out 2 to 3 years, 4 years apart, and still be releasing their banger TV shows that are building the universe around it.
As long as Jonathan Rodriguez isn't directing any of it, we'll be good.
Robert,
whatever his name is.
Robert Rodriguez.
I know it's Rodriguez.
He just got his last name right. Look, that's a lot of fan speculation. That's a lot of just speculation and talking in general. But every episode that goes by of these shows, I'm like, this doesn't match. The only reason I'm so hot and heavy on this is because we just reviewed Rise of Skywalker. And you watch Rise of Skywalker, and it's like, wow, this does not fit with the current meta of what's coming out.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not.
I'd have to watch it again. I don't hardly remember anything from the movie now.
I think I was very let down upon watching Rise of Skywalker this time. You guys can go listen to that over on Keeping It Real. If it's not out now, it'll be out soon. I watched it. When I watched it 2.5 years ago, I loved it. I was all into it. I saw it 3 times in the theaters and loved it. This time, though, I was like, especially since I've kind of spaced out the rewatch of these sequels, there was just a lot more side-eye this time, and I didn't like it anymore. I don't like it anymore, and I don't like that trilogy anymore. There are aspects of it, there are moments in that trilogy that I love. But as a whole, it's like each movie is a standalone movie. And there's nothing connecting all of them at all, really. Like, there's tiny little micro threads connecting all of them. And it just doesn't work. But what's coming out now, I'm just kind of like, this is awesome. Like, even the cringy stuff, at least there's a clear vision for what's happening. And Jon Favreau's behind it. We were joking. It's like, Jon Favreau probably got the dailies back for the third episode with the moped gang, and probably gave Robert Rodriguez a look of like, really? Okay. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
There's only so much time you can work on something. Like, you got a deadline, you got to go. But it doesn't matter because there's a clear vision for what's happening. And they're setting these stories up to where they cannot fail.
Yeah.
Even at the worst, this show is phenomenal. Even at its worst.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, I don't know. I would love to see a world where they can do something really cool to retcon the sequel trilogy. It can still remain like in a side whatever, still remain in existence. And if you open up a Legends category, which also leads me to think that they might do it because of Knights of the Republic making a return and inevitably making its way into some sort of canon, you could literally have like a Legends line of content, of the opportunity. We know Disney's all about that money. If you create an opportunity to have 2 separate timelines, 2 separate canons, and you market it the same way, and like literally anything that's Legends related has literally a Legends thing underneath it. They already do that now. You know what I mean? Like, if you market that even more, you're going to make even more money. You're going to sell even more toys. You're going to be able to make more content. And the fans really aren't going to care because
it's Star Wars.
Their Star Wars is going to be theirs inevitably. Like, you want to make a game that has nothing to do with it? We do it in comic books all the time. We do it in movies all the time, where you make a self-contained story that is not a part of, it's non-continuity, but it can still be a banger story. Some of my favorite comic book stories ever are just someone's interpretation of what happened.
But that works in a comic book, that works in a video game, that even works in a novel. Can it work in film?
I think so.
I think so too, especially if you're talking about like the points that you hit on about separating it for one, but when you're producing and spitting out that much content and it's well done, I think it's easier to do it than what it initially seems like it would probably be.
Well, and it's for one simple reason of what Disney Plus offers. So those movies don't have to be re-released in theaters. You can literally just slap a Legends thing on the titles on Disney Plus. Literally roll out your new movies day and date on Disney Plus the same way you roll out your content now. Have it released in theaters and on Disney Plus. Like, why not? But have that clear distinction of what's really happening. We know the Infinity Saga. Like, that's what's happening. right? That was a part of the story of what was happening. If they wanted to have sprinkled in X-Men and do all this other stuff and not have it really come into the main canon, or, think about it this way too, like what we were seeing with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We have the MCU version of Spider-Man, but if Sony wants to make their Spider-Man, that's another storyline we can follow if we want. So you leave it up to the audience as a whole. I think there's so much opportunity to make something like that happen and make it really cool. Will that happen? Probably wishful thinking at this point.
No, knowing the way that it goes with Star Wars, I feel like that would be the best case scenario for it to happen. But what will probably happen is they'll keep the sequels and they'll expand on certain things off of those sequels.
Yeah, they'll do edited editions of those sequels, put more footage in, unreleased footage, put deleted scenes in.
And then
that's what we're gonna get.
Then we'll probably get TV shows based off Ben Solo and Rey, and
I think that's already in. I think that's already in works. We are getting a Ben Solo show. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really? I haven't heard that.
Like a Knights of Ren show. That'd be freaking awesome. Like,
yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. Money talks. So if they found a way to tell a good story with Poe, Rey, and Finn, I'm not saying nothing. I mean, it could literally just be animated,
which I think could be really good.
I think it would.
It has a ton of potential.
I think it would add tremendously to anything. Literally make it. I don't know if there's a way to connect it all. Is the only problem. But
wasn't there a rumored show about Rey training a new series of Jedi and Ben Solo coming back as a Force Ghost? It was an animated show.
I didn't know that was a thing. I hadn't heard anything about that.
I thought there was a rumor. It could be years old because it wasn't true, but I remember reading something in an article that's along those lines. I know it was animated for sure, and that Ben Solo and Rey were involved.
That would be. I mean, Ben Solo is my favorite part of the sequel trilogy, and it's really sad to see his character wasted. But wishful thinking. That kind of goes off of our Book of Boba Fett discussion, side rant. But overall, Overall, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the Book of Boba Fett episode 4. Do we want to put a rating on this?
Yeah, let's do ratings.
Have I given my ratings for the first 3? I don't think I have.
No, go ahead and do it. We did on last week's episode.
Episode 1 is a 7. Episode 2 is a 10. Episode 3 is probably another 7, honestly. And I would give episode 4 a 7.
That's what I was going to say. I'd give it a 7.
I think everything's been good. Episode 2 has been some of the best Star Wars content ever released, ever. Period. It's really, really good. So, anyways, those are kind of my ratings. What do you guys give episode 4?
I give it a 7. Did it come through?
Oh, he said he gave... Yeah, Elijah's just nodding his head. He gave it a 7, Elijah.
Oh, okay, sorry. I did. You guys broke up for a second. I was just going with the flow.
Yeah, I'm having some internet issues. What's it for you, Elijah?
So I honestly, I'm going to give this one a 9. This one was the better episode, in my opinion. Episode 2 was good. I love the Tusken aspect. That's something we'd never seen before. This episode felt more like home. So... it felt more like Star Wars to me, so I'm giving this one a 9.
Okay, there you have it, ladies and gents. So I'm losing internet right now, guys. I don't want to. I'm sorry. I know we've been talking for about 45 minutes. I don't want to cut it abruptly, but ladies and gentlemen, definitely check in with us next week. We'll be giving our predictions and talking about what we thought, and maybe have another side ramble. We'll see what happens. I don't know, but until next time, gentlemen, say goodbye.
Toodles.
Stay classy.
Well, once again, thank you so much for showing up today. I really, really appreciate it. Again, if this is your first time here, consider subscribing. I know that's the thing that all the YouTubers do. Everyone's asking to sub. The fact of the matter is that it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, and who knows, you might even see a video every now and then that you actually like or may be interested in. Not only that, I do a bunch of stuff, so make sure you check all the information down in the description down below. We got podcasts, we got Let's Plays, we got all kinds of stuff for all kinds of fandoms. So make sure you check that out. I would seriously, seriously appreciate it, and I would love to see you around here more. I am Gabriel Fast. I will always be the Wannabe Critic.